Frontline Briefing, uncovering modern warfare's hidden battles. November 25th, 2025, just after midnight, southern Russia. Russian air defense screens across 3 cities begin registering contacts. Dozens, then hundreds, of slow-moving radar signatures approaching from Ukrainian-controlled territory. The response from Russian command posts appears measured, almost routine. Another drone swarm. Standard procedure applies. But the data patterns emerging across multiple radar systems suggest something different is developing. The primary focus of defensive attention, Taganrog, a city that rarely appears in war coverage, but holds outsized strategic importance. Home to the Beriev Aircraft Company, specialists in unique aviation platforms. Location of maintenance facilities for Russia's strategic bomber fleet. Most significantly, reported location of highly specialized military research platforms that cannot be replaced under current conditions. Russian air defense doctrine for the region relies on layered coverage. S-4 batteries positioned to create overlapping engagement zones. Pantsir S-1 systems provide close-range protection. Electronic warfare units monitor the electromagnetic spectrum. Multiple defensive tiers are designed to create what planners describe as impenetrable coverage. The doctrine assumes threats will be detected early and engaged sequentially. What Russian operators were observing on their screens? Approximately 140 slow-moving contacts heading toward Taganrog from the north. Signature profiles consistent with commercial derivative drones. Speed, 80 to 120 kilometers per hour. Altitude, varied, mostly medium to low. Threat assessment, saturation swarm requiring defensive engagement, but within system capacity. The assessment would prove incomplete. According to subsequent Ukrainian statements in OSINT reconstruction, the operation involved substantially more than what Russian radars were initially tracking in the north. Multiple strike packages, different speed profiles, varied approach vectors, coordinated timing across 3 separate target areas, total estimated deployment based on Ukrainian claims in damage assessment, over 200 aerial platforms plus cruise missiles. The operation appears designed around a core tactical principle: force defenders to commit resources against visible threats while concealing the primary strike package. In multi-domain operations, what you see is rarely the main effort. Approximately 1:20 a.m., Ukrainian-controlled coastline. While Russian defensive attention focused on the slow northern swarm approaching Taganrog, a separate strike package reportedly launched from the southern sector. Ukrainian sources claim 4 R-360 Neptune cruise missiles were fired from mobile coastal launchers. The R-360 Neptune, originally developed as an anti-ship missile, reportedly modified for land attack missions. Published specifications list a 260-kilogram warhead and range estimates around 300 kilometers, though extended range variants may exist. Propulsion, turbofan engine. Cruise speed, subsonic, likely 0.8 to 0.85 Mach. Guidance, GPS with possible terrain following capability. The weapon's sea-skimming profile, designed for naval engagements, translates to extremely low-altitude flight over land. OSINT analysts assess that the missiles flew at altitudes between 10 and 50 meters below most radar horizons for ground-based systems. At these altitudes, radar detection ranges drop dramatically. Earth's curvature creates natural concealment. Terrain masking provides additional cover. The missiles would remain largely invisible until close to their targets. Flight time from launch to target area, approximately 40 to 50 minutes based on range and speed calculations. Reportedly accompanying the Neptune missiles, a group of jet-powered Bayraktar TB2 and other high-speed UAVs. These platforms are substantially faster than commercial quadcopters, which would have different radar signatures. Higher speed, potentially lower radar cross-section, different thermal profile. The combination of subsonic cruise missiles and jet-powered drones creates a more complex defensive problem than slow swarms alone. While this southern package remained below radar horizons, Russian operators in Taganrog continued engaging the visible northern threat. Standard air defense doctrine: address known contacts first. The slow northern drones were known. They were visible. They were within engagement parameters. What remained below the horizon could not yet be engaged. Around 2 a.m., Taganrog air defense sector. Russian operators were now tracking over 100 slow-moving contacts within engagement range. Pantsir S-1 batteries began sustained defensive fire. The 30mm autocannon systems on Pantsir platforms have published rates of fire up to 5,000 rounds per minute. Against slow, unarmored targets, these systems are highly effective. Each successful engagement removes one contact from the screen. But modern air defense faces a fundamental math problem. Engagement capacity is finite. Each Pantsir battery carries a limited missile load, typically 12 surface-to-air missiles. Autocannon ammunition is substantial, but not unlimited. Radar tracking channels can only handle so many targets simultaneously. When presented with 100-plus contacts, the system must prioritize. Russian doctrine appears to prioritize by threat assessment. Closest contacts first, then fastest, then largest radar signatures. Commercial quadcopters share numerous characteristics that match multiple priority criteria. Each successful engagement feels like a mission success. Each destroyed drone is one less threat. This creates a perception management vulnerability. While Pantsir systems engage the northern swarm, the southern strike package was approaching over the Black Sea and through terrain-masked corridors. The Neptune missiles flying below 50 meters would not appear on most ground-based radar until they crossed the radar horizon, typically 15 to 25 kilometers for low-altitude targets, depending on radar height and terrain. At subsonic speed, this provides less than 2 minutes of warning. Around 2:03 a.m., according to OSINT timeline reconstruction, the Neptune missiles reached Taganrog's outer perimeter. Russian operators still engaging the slow northern drones now had new contacts appearing at extremely low altitude, high speed, moving directly toward defended facilities. The defensive system was managing multiple simultaneous engagements. Russian sources confirmed that at least one Neptune missile was intercepted during the terminal phase and destroyed by a Tor M2 or similar short-range system. The successful intercept demonstrates that the defensive systems were functional and operators were responsive. However, OSINT analysis of subsequent damage suggests multiple other munitions reached their targets. Beriev Aircraft Company facility, Taganrog, approximately 2:05 a.m. Satellite imagery from the following morning shows severe fire damage to industrial structures on the facility's grounds. Visible in the imagery, collapsed roof sections, blast damage patterns, and burn scarring consistent with large secondary fires. What was inside these structures remains partially confirmed through various sources. According to Russian aviation industry sources and Ukrainian military statements, the facility housed strategic aviation platforms undergoing maintenance and modification. Specifically mentioned in multiple reports, Tu-95MS strategic bombers are the backbone of Russia's air-launched cruise missile capability. These aircraft, when operational, carry Kh-101 and Kh-55 cruise missiles and form part of Russia's strategic deterrent. Aircraft in deep maintenance, engines removed, wings detached, and internal systems exposed are exceptionally vulnerable to fire and blast effects. More significant in strategic terms, the reported presence of highly specialized research platforms. Multiple independent sources, including Russian aviation enthusiasts and Ukrainian intelligence, reference an A-60 aerial laser laboratory being at the facility. Only one or two of these platforms are believed to exist globally. The A-60, a modified Il-76 transport aircraft, reportedly equipped with a megawatt-class laser system designed to test anti-satellite capabilities. Built during the Soviet era, upgraded sporadically since. Post-strike imagery analysis shows what appears to be severe damage to aircraft on the facility's ramp areas and inside damaged hangar structures. The specific identity of damaged aircraft cannot be independently confirmed from satellite imagery alone. Aircraft recognition requires higher resolution or direct access. However, the scale of damage visible in commercial satellite photos suggests multiple large airframes were affected. Ukrainian sources claim the A-60 was destroyed. Russian sources have not officially confirmed or denied this specific claim, which is itself notable given the platform's strategic significance. If the A-60 was indeed destroyed or severely damaged, the strategic implications are substantial. This platform represents decades of specialized development. The laser system itself, assuming it was operational, cannot be easily reproduced. Critical components likely face Western sanctions. The scientific personnel who designed and operated the system represent irreplaceable expertise. Unlike conventional aircraft that can be manufactured in series, unique research platforms exist in quantities of one or two. Their loss is not replaceable on tactical timelines. The strike package in Taganrog reportedly included additional targets beyond the Beriev facility. Ukrainian sources claim strikes against the Molnia UAV production facility, a manufacturer of Russian military drones. Post-strike imagery shows fire damage to industrial structures in the area, though specific facility identification requires detailed commercial analysis. If confirmed, strikes against drone production facilities represent strategic targeting, attacking not just current capability, but future capacity. Simultaneously with the Taganrog strikes, Ukrainian forces reportedly launched separate packages against other southern Russian targets. Novorossiysk port, strategic naval facility, and oil terminal. Post-strike reports indicated fires at petroleum infrastructure. Independent monitoring detected thermal signatures consistent with fuel fires. Tuapse, major oil refinery. Similar reporting of fires and damage to refining infrastructure. These secondary strikes appear designed to overwhelm defensive response capacity across a wide geographic area. Russian air defense must cover multiple critical sites simultaneously. Each additional target forces resource allocation decisions. Each distant strike pulls defensive attention away from other sectors. This is operational level coordination. Multiple packages, different target sets, synchronized. This operation illustrates several tactical principles that characterize large-scale UAV operations. First, saturation creates prioritization dilemmas. When air defense systems face 100+ slow targets, operators must make rapid decisions about engagement sequence. Each engagement consumes finite defensive resources, missiles, ammunition, and tracking capacity. The slow, visible swarm forces continuous engagement while concealing higher-value threats approaching from different vectors. Second, multi-axis attacks fragment defensive attention. Coordinating strikes from north and south simultaneously forces defenders to monitor multiple approach corridors. Radar systems must cover more area. Response assets must be positioned to address multiple threats. Command decision-making becomes more complex under time pressure. Third, speed diversity complicates interception. Slow commercial drones, 80 to 120 kilometers per hour, jet-powered UAVs, 300 to 400 kilometers per hour, and subsonic cruise missiles, 800+ kilometers per hour, each require different engagement solutions. The defensive system cannot optimize for all simultaneously. Different threats require different sensors, different weapons, and different tactics, all happening within the same operational timeframe. What does this operation indicate about the current state of this conflict and modern defensive challenges? First, unique strategic assets face asymmetric vulnerability. The A-60 laser platform, if it was indeed destroyed, represents an irreplaceable capability developed over decades. Its loss cannot be compensated through increased production or tactical adjustment. Some capabilities once lost cannot be recovered during the conflict timeline. This applies broadly. Specialized research platforms, unique production facilities, and technical expertise. These represent single points of strategic failure. Second, geographic depth does not guarantee sanctuary. Taganrog sits approximately 200 kilometers from the front line. In conventional warfare, this would represent a secure rear area. But when low-cost UAV platforms have ranges exceeding 1,000 kilometers, the definition of rear area changes fundamentally. Every fixed installation, regardless of location, must be defended continuously or accept vulnerability. Third, cost asymmetry creates sustainability questions. If Ukrainian claims are accurate, the operation employed primarily low-cost UAV platforms plus 4 cruise missiles. Total operational cost likely in the tens of millions. If the A-60 and Tu-95 maintenance capabilities were damaged, as reported, the strategic value destroyed could exceed billions when the impossibility of replacement is factored in. The pattern continues. Attackers with sufficient range and coordination can threaten strategic assets at costs far below defensive or replacement expenses. This is the operational environment both sides now operate within.